Ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show. I'm Sheila Mac, your host, and here we share real stories from real people on solutions and ways that you can reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your life on your terms. So today we have a special guest. We have Marqueta Harris, and she is an incredible lady that she's a federal contractor. She has been a veteran and served our country for many years. And somehow she also raised 6 incredible children. So she is here today. One of the things that she does best is she consults businesses on how to go from start to an exit strategy at some point and the foundation part. So this is beautiful. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you here, Marqueta.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So where would you like to start? Do you have a story that you would like to share about maybe a tough situation that you've gone through in your life where you've overcome that situation and got back on track?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me that. It's one of those like, where do I start? There seem to be so many, but yet it's the lesson that comes out of that tough time or that situation. So I'm going to pull the one that I think resonates with me the most. People often ask, what is the word or the one word that I would use to describe myself? And I am going to say resilient. I say resilient because I have been through some unimaginable situations, and the circumstances were not always something that I was at fault of. But somehow it seemed like it was, and yet I was the person that had to deal with the aftermath. One of the things that stands out to me is with those 6 children, there were times that I had dealt with chronic homelessness ever since I was out of the military. I am that veteran that served during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And unfortunately, there are some places and parts of our country that really do not know how to cater to veterans, and they leave a lot of things on us because they expect us, with how they built us, to be determined and to be resilient and to know how to, in a sense, kind of fight, that they expect us to continue that on. But when you are dealing with hidden wounds, you don't necessarily know how to, or you feel defenseless and feel as if all of what you may have as your tactics and ways in how you do fight, you feel like they've been taken from you. And so such was the case for me, that I was reaching out for help when I had gotten out, didn't know that I was dealing with a disability because at that time it was unnamed, and it started to spill over in a lot of my actions. I seemed to not be able to kind of get things right. I was struggling on a daily basis, and those unseen things started to manifest in a physical sense. Part of that being which I was unable to hold down lucrative or employment, so to speak, and that in turn caused me to lose housing often, or not have enough in order to have housing. So it wasn't just me that was going through this, it was my children. And unfortunately, they did not understand why their mother was going through what they went through, what we were dealing with, because of the fact that I was military or prior military. And it was hard to try to explain to them when I didn't have any answers myself. But long of the short, one day things finally turned around for me, in which I was able to not only get the help that I needed, but it gave me the footage in order to now start to build and, as you say, rebuild. And here I am.
Wow, that's a cool story. So the feedback. So we'll keep going. Yes. So that's something that, what an experience. I have known so many other veterans that also have to deal with this situation, that have gone through homelessness
Yes.
and struggled. And I would think and hope that with this message and everybody else's message, that somehow they create a program, an exit program, where people have the ability and time to get their footing once you leave
Right.
that type of a lifestyle, and get back into normal, civilian living, I guess they would.
Absolutely. You're so right.
Yes, that would be so nice. And I know that as a young girl, I was homeless from 10 to 13 and a half. And
Wow.
it was a different experience, because you're young and you're not thinking about all that. And
Right.
I made friends and ended up staying on sofas. I was couch surfing before that was a thing.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't know. And then I found foster care, and I found, like you find things that you don't know exist.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
that's the point of this show, is that I would love to have as many resources available to people that are listening in, that are going through this exact situation or something similar. Who do I call? All you need is the resource.
That's it. That
Yes.
is it.
Yes. So what was the resources? Who did you connect with that helped you get back on track during that time?
Yes. Wow. That is such a great question. And thank you for sharing that about you. So I just feel like there's like a Kisme connection there. But so to answer the question, honestly, a lot of it, I had to bootstrap it. That's your word again, bootstrapping, and find out on my own. Because like you said, the exit plan that they had for me, it wasn't under normal circumstances. And so it wasn't the typical where, like for instance with Navy, how they will have them be in a group session and they are giving them an exit strategy months before they actually really and truly leave out of the military and become civilian again. Such was not the case for me, and that was because of the situation that I was dealing with, and it was a kind of a rush because I was getting out under abnormal circumstances. And so because of that, they still should have had something in place, but we're talking about in the 90s, not anything that's recent, where we have so much modern technology and there's implementations already built in place, where when you're dealing with a person that doesn't have, let's just say, all of those tools or resources, or let's just go beyond that, we're dealing with a human being. They may or may not feel like doing their job that day. So if they feel as if, I just want to hurry up and get this done so I can go, I don't know, go eat lunch or something like that, you don't think about the after effect on what it has on a person, because you don't want to adequately do your job. So I got out with absolutely no resources. And thankfully, I went back home to a place in neighborhood where I was living at, where I was already familiar with some of the resources because I was in a situation before I had joined the military. So I had very faint, I guess, ideas about where I could go and what to do. But because I am very inquisitive, I ask a lot of questions. I learned early on that if you don't ask, nobody is going to volunteer. And unfortunately, there was a lot of resources that I didn't find out about because I did not know that I needed to ask the questions and pull it out of people. So with that, I started to build an arsenal of what I needed, not only for me, but I then turned around because I would see somebody else going through the same situation, and what may have been hard for me to obtain, and it could have taken me months, I could tell them in an instant, and it would save them so much heartache, because not everybody is built to endure pressure or situations in life. And that is how I ended up forming the business strategy or business strategist business, because I would remember these resources. And even if it didn't have anything to do with my situation, because I was seeking something else, it just so happened that I would see this resources, I would learn about it upon my research, and for whatever reason, it would stick with me. So I think you may remember this person, Encyclopedia Brown, that we grew up with, that character at that time. And that's what a lot of people call me that are my age, that they say that I'm like an encyclopedia of resources. I have a wealth of knowledge, but it's only because I've had to obtain it in a rough manner.
Yes, yes. To be the case. And so I don't know how to get rid of this feedback. All right. You know what? Let me try one more thing.
Okay.
We can edit some of this. How is this?
Now I'm good. I don't hear any feedback, but I think you must hear it on your end. Do you still hear it from me?
No, I don't. This is okay. So I unplugged. It might have been my mic. I unplugged it. And
okay.
And it may be, I don't know. So
I didn't hear anything. So
oh, it was really bad. Every time I spoke, it was an echo.
Oh, an echo. Okay. Yeah, that definitely was the microphone.
Feedback.
Yeah, I didn't hear it, but yeah.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, there's first for everything.
Right.
All right. So let's go back. So we'll edit that little piece.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Okay. That is so important. So ask for help when you need it.
That's it.
That's the number one thing. Don't be ashamed to ask for help.
That's right.
I think for me as well, there was a point where I lost my home to the Ventura fires and everything, and everybody lost everything too. And I was like, who do you ask for help? And I'm not used to asking anybody for help. I'm just not that person. I don't feel like it's really hard when you're the mom of 6 kids. We're like, I've got this.
Yes, you're the pillar. Yeah.
I have to do 2-3 jobs, whatever I need to do. I've got this.
Yep.
I was like, oh, I don't have
it.
And that's when you start to say, okay, it's okay to ask for help. Have you ever had anybody that really asked for help in a really authentic way that you really turned away or said, go away? No.
Right.
Absolutely not. Because as a business leader, you're always helping everyone. And so that's something that it's okay to also take care of ourselves.
Yes.
And ask for the help. And I think another thing is we do tend to put ourselves way at the bottom of the list because we're taking care of everybody else and everything else, all these responsibilities, that we forget the self-care and that kind of, just to have a moment even is like a big deal. Please,
my goodness.
5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really important to be okay with asking for help and also to look for resources. I mean, we have Google now. On my website, I have tons of extra resources, and I have a group that always adds different help resources for people that are looking for help. There are different places. I have a good friend that's a veteran that they have different housing options.
Wow.
And so that's California. I'm not sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he's able to stay somewhere for a discounted rate.
Wow.
But it's a long list. It's a waiting list.
Of course.
And, he's got some things that he's still healing from also. And
right.
So many.
Right.
So this is a very important message to get out, that to look at your state. Now, I'm not sure, you have to go piece by piece to find this information.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's the unfortunate thing, is because, first of all, let's go to where the problem starts. The problem starts that there is not enough marketing about the resources that are free, that are available for people to find where they can get the help at. That was the number one issue for me. If it was not, Sheila, this is the absolute truth. Yeah. It was just, I came across information in passing because other people were asking me, well, are you getting this and are you getting that? They knew about stuff that I didn't. And half the time they weren't even military affiliated. They just knew about it because maybe they had a family member or maybe they came across it. But that is a shame that I have to hear this from someone and I didn't hear it from the main source.
Yes.
We already know in America, when you're signing up in the armed forces, at some point in time, you're probably going to be privy to some type of war or some type of, because that is what it's about. It's defending the country, right? And so because of that, there are going to be some casualties of wars, whether it is fatal or whether there are, again, those hidden wounds that no matter who that person is, they're coming back with. What I've learned, everybody cannot handle the same trauma. Everybody cannot handle things the same as what they see. People don't even realize that you could just be driving down the street and you can see a horrific accident, but based upon what that person's level of sensitivity and what they see, and let's just say that they may see some casualties laying out in the street, you are still privy to some type of trauma because that is going to keep replaying in your mind over and over and over again. So again, if people do not know that trauma can come to you in different ways and in different manners, you don't know what you don't know. So that's number one. Number two is, let's just say if that person that I'm giving the example of, they saw this horrific accident. If they don't know that that is a form of trauma because I just keep seeing it and it's bothering me, and now they're depressed and they just feel really bad and they're just like, oh, I wish I could just do something to help the family, and they're overly sensitive. Okay. If somebody doesn't tell them, well, maybe you need to talk to someone about that so you can get your feelings out, because oftentimes they're going to say that to people that's around them. And what are they going to do? Oh, man, get over it. It happens all the time. Oh, I mean, well, yeah, well, there's nothing you can do about it. They disregard their feelings. So that's the same with those that are the veterans. We're being disregarded because we're told, just get over it. Well, that's what happens. Well, you should have never signed up and you're fighting, a war that doesn't belong to you. All of these different things, it's like you're disregarding the reason why I joined. It could have been for education. It could have been so that I can provide better for my family, or even just to make something of myself. So now, because that's your opinion, you feel as if I've done something wrong. So now we're walking around with guilt and shame. And again, now we're getting closed mouth because we don't want to say the wrong thing to someone else, and then you tell us something like that. But let's flip it. What about the resources that are available on the city and the state level? And the only way that you're finding out about it, does everybody know to call? And I don't know if this number is in your area in California, 211 seems to be the new 411. But does everybody know to call that number, whether it's 211 or 411? Do you know that this is where all of this information is housed? Do you know that? Do you know that with all of the nonprofit and the for-profit organizations are supposed to call this very same number and get on the list as a vendor or as a resource? But if people do not know, call this one name number. You see what I'm saying? It is a nationally known number.
Wow.
211 is a nationally known number. I guess it's the new 411 because it used to be 411 was information. I don't even know if anybody calls that anymore. But 211 is the new, and it's, again, this is where they house and how they do it. So here's a resource. They base it off of your city or your county, and then they can break it down even by zip code. And this is a real thing. So when you call this number, I believe it's option 8 to speak to a live person, but they'll tell you, if you want to speak to a live representative, you play, and it could be different in different states, but there is an option that you can speak to a person. When you come online, just to take it step by step, you're saying, like, I'll take me for instance. Yes, I'm looking for places that may have food banks, or I'm looking for housing, or I'm looking for rent assistance, or I'm looking for assistance with utilities. Whatever it is, they are the hub that is connected to all of these resources that are in the city and that are in the state. And what they do is, based on what you're saying, I'm kind of picturing how this would go. Let's just say they have this long, exhaustive list. They're going to click on, because I'm pretty sure, they're on software. I'm pretty sure they're on a computer. They're going to click on those different things that you say that you need. And then based upon that, it's going to dwindle down and pull a report so that the only thing that you asked about is what they're going to give you. Yeah. This in turn, now not only what they're doing is they are empowering the person that is calling for help, and they are educating you at the same time. How do they do that? not only do they tell you where the resources are, they're informing you about what the name of the place is, what they offer. They're more than likely going to tell you the times that you can call, the days that they're open. But get this, they're also going to send you the same information through email, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to forget something that they said. And so to keep you from repeating the call and keep them from being frustrated from getting repeat calls, they're just going to send it to you via email. That way you always have access to this information.
My goodness. That was a save. See, yeah, that was a save for so many people listening in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can just imagine, and I am putting that on my, so 211.
Yep, 211. And I believe it may be option 8 that you press, but listen, they're going to tell you the prompts, and they always have somebody for you to talk to. That's the thing.
I have chills right now, because I remember I said at the beginning of this, before we started, everybody that has a message that I interview, I believe there's somebody listening on the other side of this that needs to hear what you have to say. And what you have to say, that piece of information, if that existed when you were first out and needed help, that would have saved.
My God.
Yes.
It would have saved me months. It would have saved me years. Because, yes. And the thing about it is, people don't know about it. And I'm going to tell you, when you find out about it is when you just so happen to go to one of those resources. They always seem to have an information table when you go to the resource. But what about what's in the community? How are you letting the people know in the community where this resource is? And most of the time, Sheila, the sad part about it is that they only seem to have this information in places where they expect someone that has a dire need to go. This is what I mean. Every single city and every single state has a social services, or what they call health and human services, where people go for financial assistance, or let's just say you need help with food, or for women, I don't know about you, but I used to be on WIC. So it was all housed in a building. But if you as an individual, let's just say that you never even knew, let's take it, let's be real. Let's take the wife that was a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. She took care of the children. The husband was out there. He was working. He did all these things. And he decided he wanted to get jazzy. And he decides he wanted to leave her for his young secretary. And she's just like, he's like, well, you just got to figure it out. She has no skills. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know where to go, because she was never privy to that side and didn't know that there was, let's just say, that neighborhood on the other side where she never drove into, because in her area in suburbia, she didn't have to deal with that. So however she finds out that information, she's struggling. She doesn't know how she's going to take care of her children, because you don't think about these things until you're faced in that situation. But yet it's always there. They're there.
It does have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So that's very important to know. This is incredible and so true. We do go through these things, and unfortunately it is an imbalance. It's not all the time,
right?
But it's a huge percentage of the time.
That's
and
it.
Whether you're a full-time stay-at-home or you're running businesses and doing other things, somehow losing half of your household income is just gonna hurt.
Oh. Yes, it is.
It really is, especially when you have a large family.
Right.
And that it seems to happen all the time. And,
yes.
There's not a lot in place to help people that people can find right away. So just the 211. Mm-hmm. Used to be, did you get the 411?
Right. That's it. The 411 is the 211.
Huge. So it's the best ever, because there are people, I want to share this everywhere and make sure people get this information and repeat it, because that is so, that can change so many lives, so many children.
Right.
To go to bed hungry.
That's right.
Yes. This is going to make a huge difference, especially this year, where it hit harder than ever for one reason or another, people are
Mm-hmm.
breaking up or they're losing their homes
Yes.
because they couldn't pay their rent
Right. Right.
because
Right.
of job loss. There's so much going on right now. This is probably the best message ever in the sense that we need to get this out. Every time I go on the show from now on, I'm going to share
Yeah.
about that.
Hey, Sheila, can I add this really quick? Thank you for mentioning that. So, two things that I do want to say in light of what you just said. So, with me being and dealing with federal contracting, again, coming across just different information. So, October is the month that the new budget always hits for every agency. So we're talking nonprofit and for profit. Okay. So those businesses that are government contracting, it's new money. And
Right.
those that are nonprofit organizations, new money. So it is equally important to let people know about 211. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe they have a website, but it is always best to call because you want to talk to a person that when you are telling them what your situation is, some stuff you may just need to get assistance like ASAP. Okay.
Exactly.
And so with this new money, that means that now, oftentimes, like for me, I would call some of these organizations and they were bootstrapped. They had no more funds. And this was in June or July. Okay. So that meant that, and they knew that they were not getting any new money until October. So now you have, what about me and everyone else that couldn't get help for all of June, all of July, all of August, and all of September, right? So
Right.
now is the time to go ahead and to make these calls because these agencies have new money. The second thing is in light of those that have dealt with not being able to pay their rent, you have two resources out. There is one for the landlord in order for them to get financial assistance for the houses that they own. And then there is financial assistance for the tenants. Now, I'm not too familiar with how, because every state is different, but I do know that all across each state, that there is, what do they call it, relief or some type of assistance, financial assistance for both parties.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that whoever the listeners just go on to and just Google whether if you're a tenant, look for rental assistance. Matter of fact, put in the keyword COVID because that is going to help pull exactly what you need as opposed to just rental. Put in rental assistance for COVID. And as for the owners, they need to put in landlord or homeowners assistance per COVID. That's going to pull in and it's going to bring them to and extrapolate all of the websites that they can possibly go on because again, every state is different. So their funding and the guidelines are different, but it's the basic all across the board. There is help out there for both parties.
Yes, this is so important. What a beautiful message.
Thank you.
Yes. Right. This is going to help people all over. I love
Yes.
it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Now, since you raised 6 children,
Yes.
tell us, do you have parenting tips, especially for this very interesting year?
Wow, I do. Okay, so first off, what I had to learn is yes, I am super mom and I'm superwoman, but it is okay to not be that all the time. And you said something so key earlier that sometimes you do have to take moments to yourself. Because if we continuously go on autopilot all day, like we know that we can, what is the self-preservation? So even if it's just 5 minutes. So I don't know about you, but even when I go to the bathroom, I can't even get privacy in there. They're finding me in the bathroom and I'm just like, can you please just give me a few minutes? So I have to find hiding places that I can go to just so that I can relax, relate, and release. Okay.
Yes.
The other thing too that is that I am having to implement even the more in talking about being organized is having to write down or keep in a calendar of everything that needs to be done. Whether you are a virtual parent and your student is virtual, or whether they're going to school, it's so important in order to implement because again, this is a time that whoever would have thought, unless you were online students are particularly for us, those that we're so busy that this works for me. I can't be the traditional student. Who would have ever thought that it would have even gone to, whether it's private school, public school, whatever it is, we would have never thought that we would have seen this, right?
Yeah.
So a tip and what I want to share with the parents is take that time out to breathe, but then also to welcome the time of having to spend with the children. Yes, I know that it was an abrupt insertion of what they had in their everyday lives, which get up, take the kids to school, or they catch the bus. We're going off to work, whether we work for someone or we work for ourselves. We come home, dinner should be on, or maybe I'm just going to go and buy it, help with the homework, go to bed. That's it. But now we're finding that because there has been an abrupt change in how we are communicating with each other, it really does bring out either the best or the worst in you, because it's like now I have no choice but to have to be with you all day. And so that's why it's so much more important that, because we're not used to that. I understand, every parent does not have the same patience level. Some have great patience, and others it's just like, I just can't deal. Just like, maybe take a drive around the corner, whatever you have to do to keep from blowing up. But just find that hiding space and just close the door and close your eyes. And for a good maybe 5 minutes, just stand there and just breathe. Just breathe.
So true. And I think this year more than ever, like for my kids, they're college and above, but they're coming to me, and because of all the situations going on our planet and all the unrest and everything, they're questioning history. They want to know values. They want to understand what is going on. What is this about?
Yes.
They care about history now for the first time ever.
Right.
They're our leaders. They're our future leaders. And
absolutely.
What a better place. You have them at home. You're going to show them this is how we're going to lead.
That's it. That's it.
Yes. It makes a difference. This is the beginning of a new decade.
Yes, and it is.
Yeah, we're reorganizing right now. And I believe and hope that the reorganizing is going to bring us to the place that we really need to be, a much better place.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you hit the nail on the head. You want to know what this is? It is the whole world has been placed on a complete reset.
Yes.
Because think about it, Sheila. We have been like at light speed. Everything has to be fast. Look at how often we're trying to save time and everything, because we have that microwave mentality and we think everything in life should just quickly just be the same way. It's almost like the whole world had to come to a halt because we were moving too fast and we were missing out on things that were important. One key thing that you just said was your children are coming to you and they're asking you. You know who they're asking? The parent.
Yes.
Parents are the first teachers. We're the first ones. They really should be learning from us. Mm-hmm. And then they receive the college degree level of teaching from the teachers. You see what I mean? But as far as the parents are concerned, it's our job to not allow the school to raise our children, but to only help us. So when we're talking about the village, back in the day, the village was the neighborhood. But nowadays, people, they just are so quick to want to mind their business and they don't want to help people. And that's not cool. Because if it were your child or if something were happening to you, you don't want somebody walking past, if you're sitting there being mugged and they're saying, not my business. No, you would want somebody to step in and help. But unfortunately, the art of the village has been lost. So now we have to join forces with what we do have around us, which are the professors, which are the teachers, which are the principals or those that are in leadership, even the community leaders. Mm-hmm. Because how else do these things, these issues that happen in our neighborhood, how do they make it up to the White House? Somebody has to travel and has to give the message. But if the community leaders don't know that this is an issue within their community, then how are they going to go to their mayors or to their governors or to their state senators to say, hey, the next time when you make a trip up to Capitol Hill, we need this to be addressed. So it's a chain of command, yes, but also, too, it starts at home. So the more engaged the parents are with their children, maybe, just maybe, it just might decrease crime.
Yes.
Maybe, just maybe, it might decrease children going out here and just doing whatever comes to their minds, because they're bored. Nobody is paying them attention, and they don't realize that you need boundaries. You have to have boundaries. So if you have that parent that is just out of touch and just letting that child raise themselves, you can't possibly. Come on. So we have a responsibility, not only it's a social responsibility to make sure that we are not churning out a monster, that we're not churning out somebody that is a sociopath, or worse yet, somebody that's going out and wants somebody else to feel their pain of being neglected, of being abused, of being ignored,
Right.
all of that. So I understand it. I understand it as a parent. And sometimes, yes, these kids, they can pluck that nerve that you just like, okay, you know what? Let me leave out of the house. Let me take a few walks around the block, because if not, I'm going to give you shaken baby syndrome if you do not quit this man. So I get it. But in the same time, the reward comes from you see the fruit of your children now. They're made it to college. That is so admirable of you. Whatever you did, Sheila, that is you. That's kudos to you. And now you have, like you said, these are our future leaders. Guess what? You can take pride in knowing that my children are a part of the future leaders, and I did my part. So now every single tear that you cried, every time that they've done something that you just felt like, I don't know, I think I dropped this one on his head. I don't know. I don't think he's going to make it. They're going to turn around. They're going to show you that what you did at home, they're going to show that to you, and they're going to show it to the world.
I agree. And I am proud of my kids. We did lose my youngest son in December from a heart condition.
Oh, and no. Sorry to hear that.
When you think about that, when something like that, he had a heart condition from 5th grade on, and it was always like you worry, but it could happen anytime, and there's nothing they can do. It's WCW is what it's called. And so, when that happened, it was like our family needed this universal pause. And the things that matter, for even my younger kids, completely changed. Completely changed. So when you think about when you wake up in the morning, if you're a parent and you say, wow, I got my kids. I'm good. Good. And I'm
all else doesn't matter.
All that other stuff, pleasing other people, whatever. No, it doesn't matter. And then you give your children discernment. This is our values. This was the real history we went through in our family and our, what we've come through and who we are. And this is what they're going to have. And so when they go to a classroom that maybe has a situation or teachers or people telling them something that's not aligned, they're able to filter that and say, this is it. This is where I stand. I can respect my teacher, but I'm not going to just believe whatever.
That is it right there. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. And to say that, because if we are not instilling the same values, those morals and those ethics in our children, however we are raising them, we have to teach them that respectfully say, I don't agree with that, or I can't do that. And as I told mine, then you come to me and you tell me so that the adult can deal with the adult. So no, don't you disrespect and don't you mouth off. But if there is something that they're telling you that goes against what I taught you, I would rather you come and tell me. And that's another thing, having that communication where as parents, yes, we need to get on their nerves. We need to ask them questions. How was your day? What did you learn? What's going on? Well, what did your teacher say when so and so and so? We have to ask those descriptive questions that even if it bugs them. And I just went through this with my 11-year-old the other day. He's learning how to play the saxophone. And I was asking him questions about, so are you putting the instrument together now? Because at first they had him just blowing into the mouthpiece. And so he was like, yes, but I could tell like each and every question he was getting aggravated. And I was like, excuse me, what is that? He was like, because you're asking me questions. And I answered it. And I said, no, first, I'm the parent. You would want me to ask you questions because there are a lot of kids out here that their parents could care less about them. So that's number one. Number two, I'm paying for that instrument. That thing is $3,000. So I'm going to ask you down to the note if I want to about what's going on in this class, because I want to make sure that it's not just sitting pretty in this case. Are you using it? Is she showing you? Have you played the notes? Do you understand the music? Because then that's going to let me know Do I take a step further and do I go and get you private lessons, or are you picking up pretty quick? If we don't ask these questions, then we'll never know. So I again applaud you in with that, and understanding that it's when your eyes open up, okay, and then when you know what you're teaching your children, and you know that it's morally right, it's ethically right, it's socially right, then you've given them and allowed them to have a backbone. So now when they do go off in the world, or they're off in college, and we're not always around in order to step in and quickly take up for them, you have to learn how to do it on your own. And then if it gets to be too much, just always know that you can come back to me.
Exactly. I mean, I had two of my kids at home because the university's closed, and they're not living in the universities anymore. And so, and I'm like, of course you come home, and I'm like enjoying every moment. I'm like, oh, it's going to end. This is, because so much, but it's that gift.
Yes.
For parents, that gift of time.
Yes.
And when you're dealing, I have a chapter on parenting adult children, because that kind of shifts, and you learn to have a different relationship with your kids. And the whole thing, there's resentment that can come in if it's not done at a certain way, and it's all about the communication. I have a whole communication worksheets and things that people can do at the end of the chapter, and it really has made, it's like I have a new relationship with my grown kids that are it's really beautiful, and it's honest, and we talk about things that maybe you don't want to talk about, but we talk about them.
That's right.
It's really possible. And yes, and at a certain point, like you're saying, that time that we need to take at a certain age, even 11, they need their time.
Yes,
especially if they're stuck home, depending on where you live, and if there's not school going on, they need either to go play in the yard, or go in the room and have like chill time of their own.
That's right. Absolutely.
It can kind of be part of the deal. Like you kind of part of the schedule. I do the schedule kind of a thing, and this is what we're doing now. And you don't bother me, and I don't bother you unless the house is on fire.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And and they need that time. They need the time to be on the phone with their friends, and whatever they're going to do, or just read or something.
Yes.
And that's our space. So they need that, because they're learning how to not have us full time.
That's right. Oh my gosh, so key. I love that. That is so neat. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, this has been such an informative interview. I really appreciate you being on the show today. And I think the information is speaking to so many different people. I really appreciate having you on. And I want to learn more about how people maybe can connect with you as the end of the show, and maybe the way they can connect with you, and anything else about your business that you want.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. So I have a couple of platforms. So on Instagram, they can find me under Marqueta Speaks Life. So if you see how to spell my name, it's Marqueta Speaks Life. That's all one word. They can find me on Facebook under Marqueta Plum Jenkins. I am working on having all of my branding to kind of be the same, but that's my personal page. I don't have a business one yet. I'm working on that. And then on my website, phoenixglobalgroup.org. So they can go under the contact tab, and they can shoot me a message, and it will come to my email. And I would love to connect. And if there's anything else that I can help anyone else with, I am that one that if I don't know it, I'm going to find it out, and I will give it to you.
That's beautiful. Thank you. All right. Thank you again for tuning into the Sheila Mack Show, and we will see you next time. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and action steps to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and we're here today on NBC's KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. Today we had an incredible rock star special guest from BSA. She is Marqueta Harris, and she is a federal contractor, a veteran, and a business consultant. She helps small businesses to create a solid foundation and an exit strategy. She is also the mother of 6 children. So, like myself, we both have 6 children. So you get to hear, or you just heard, 2 moms discussing some very important situations and the different ups and downs. So rock bottoms that Marqueta had to experience in her life. Our lives were kind of mirrored in some ways. We both experienced bouts of homelessness at certain points in our life and different ups and downs. And we were discussing this and found this incredible number. Now, not everybody knows this, because I certainly didn't know that 411, our old, back in the day, before we had Google, we had 411 and we would call information. Well, now there is 211, and that is a national number where people can get information to get help that they may need, resources they may need in a hurry. So that could be that they need resources to help them with paying their rent, or help them if they happen to be evicted. A lot of people are starting to experience that depending on the rules in the state. There's different numbers to help people connect with shelters or food banks, different things that this year people need this more than ever. So it's a very important number to keep on your list, keep it in your phone or in your memory bank, so that if you run into someone that you can give them resources very easily by just having them call the 211 phone number. So that was interesting and incredible and so important. And I always feel like when one of these shows go on, it has a purpose to reach exactly who needs to hear it. And it may be that you keep that in your memory bank, and then someone you know and love may need help getting in touch with a shelter for battered women and getting away from an abusive situation, or help getting back on track in another way, help with maybe getting into schooling for new job training, help with those kind of resources that are so important this year. And we also had a fun discussion about parenting and how to set boundaries with our sometimes almost adult or young teen to adult children that are now maybe home. I know that I have 2 students that are home with me, college students, my children that are home with me now because the university and dorms that they were attending are still closed. So that's a different relationship than you might have with a younger child, and there is a need for time and space for self-care and to form a new relationship with your young adult, especially if they're back home, given the situations that are happening this year. So with that, I do have an entire chapter in my book devoted to parenting and to also, as young adults, how to work on new boundaries and a new relationship with your parents if you're a young adult listening to this, and also for parents to work on ways to have relationships with your young adult children. So I hope that helps, and thank you again for tuning in to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station, and we'll be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find The Sheila Mack Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business career and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiations on leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then. And that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do, but I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And Later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea of paying rent for years and years and years and not building equity. So I did get my real estate license through that and invested and bought my other 4 store buildings. And lots of the other store owners worked with me, paid me to consult and help them do what I was doing. And I didn't really even know it was called consulting. I just knew how to figure it out, I guess. And so that's how I started my career. And now, I raised 6 children, all that, and now they're grown. And so I get to come to work every day and do what I naturally do best as an enterprising and forward-thinking business leader. Through my show, courses, and live events, I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals like you through the profitable steps of building a business, creation to expansion, marketing from planning to implementation, wealth preservation through strategic planning and, yes, real estate investing, and lifestyle design so that you can earn more while getting back to the business of living your best life. So I do invite you to tune in here to KCAA Radio, and also I would really appreciate it if you went to my YouTube channel, Sheila Mack Show, and gave a subscribe and a listen to some of your favorite shows. And I do have some other exciting things, including a free gift to thank you. So if you go to www.sheilamac.com, that's SHEILAMAC, SheilaMac.com, there you can get a free gift to get started on your reboot this year. And now back to the show. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamac.com today.